This is BBC Newsline. I'm Tara Mills. Tonight's headlines. The Taoiseach has called for the release of this Irish missionary who was kidnapped in Haiti.
We would appeal to those who have kidnapped her and those in the orphanage to release them, not to harm them. Gina has done a lot of good for people.
Stormont's Department of Health is in discussions about the possibility of accepting a small number of children from Gaza for medical treatment here. Tourism in the northwest is already feeling the bounce from major events this summer.
It's been fantastic that we've been, the month of July has been really strong for us. And now we're heading into peak season, August.
The Alliance MP Saoirse Eastwood has ruled herself out of any future leadership bid. Ed Sheeran surprises fans with a performance in this pub at the All-Ireland Fleadh in County Wexford.
In sport, a dramatic 48 hours for motorcyclist Glenn Irwin. He's described the split from his Ducati team as the toughest time in his racing life.
And after sunny spells today, rain is coming tonight, but will it clear for tomorrow? I'll have your forecast shortly.
Hello and welcome to Wednesday's programme. The Taoiseach has joined calls for the release of an Irish missionary and 8 others, including a young child who were abducted from an orphanage in Haiti. Gina Herity has lived in the country for 3 decades. The charity which employs her said she sees her role not as a job but as a vocation. Micheál Martin has said she has made an extraordinary contribution to life in Haiti. Catherine Morrison has more.
Inspirational and resilient, Gina Herity was aware of the dangers of working in Haiti. She helps run this orphanage in the village of Kenskoff, close to the capital, Port-au-Prince. The charity behind it says she cares for extremely vulnerable children in the chaos of a country gripped by gang violence.
This is now her life's work, and she would feel she certainly cannot abandon the children with whom she's working. They're her family. She says that, very often they're her family. She would have stuck with her family and will stick with her family, I suspect, when she is released. And please God, she will be shortly.
In the first half of this year, UN figures show more than 3,000 people were killed and almost 350 kidnapped. Kathleen Davies' cousin was one of them. She was raised in Haiti by missionary parents. 2 of her cousins have been kidnapped by gangs. One of them, a doctor, was taken in January and released after money was paid.
For 5 days, we didn't know really how we were going to get her released. Thankfully, she had people who were able to negotiate her release. There's no doubt there was money involved. That's what those gangs want. They have no other agenda. They don't have political agenda. They just want money to carry on the mess that they're making of Haiti.
It's understood the gang holding Ms Herity have been in phone contact. This is a message for them.
We appeal to them to their own humanity. Please, the work that Gina is doing is so important for your community. Please release her.
This afternoon, the Taoiseach joined calls for her safe return.
Every effort has been undertaken to secure the release of Gina Herity. She's made an extraordinary human contribution to life in Haiti, manifestation of the very best of missionary endeavour.
Meanwhile, in Haiti, it's been reported that the gang holding Ms Herity and the others has made its initial demands. Catherine Morrison, BBC Newsline.
Now, the Department of Health says it's in discussions with the government about the possibility of providing medical treatment here for injured children from Gaza. The Prime Minister says he's working at pace to progress the plan. It would also require approval from Stormont before any young people could be brought to Northern Ireland. Our political correspondent, Jane McCormick, reports.
Caught in a conflict which continues to cause injury, starvation and even death, growing up in Gaza is perilous. The Prime Minister says the government is urgently accelerating efforts to evacuate children who need critical medical assistance to the UK for treatment. Sinn Féin wants some of them to be treated by the health service here.
Well, I've written to the Minister. I've asked him to do all that he can, as quickly as he can, to ensure that we can bring children over to the north and their families, and where they can get the proper healthcare treatment. Healthcare professionals here want to do what they can to ease that suffering, and I think that should be supported by us all.
But it isn't supported by everyone.
We need to first of all get the problems sorted that we have here before we start looking to try and fix problems elsewhere in the world. That we have massive issues here in Northern Ireland with our health service, and that's where we need to start. We need to get down our waiting lists, which are growing year on year, and if we had that sorted, then is the time that we start to look where else in the world can we do good and help.
Northern Ireland has played its part in other conflicts, most recently providing refuge to people fleeing Ukraine after Russia invaded there 3 years ago. The Department of Health said discussions are ongoing regarding the possibility of accepting a small number of children. Any decision for Northern Ireland to participate in this scheme will require executive approval. Those involved in privately funded efforts to bring sick children to the UK say Stormont has a humanitarian duty.
You have the proven capability. We were literally the test case. And so now these 20 months of negotiation and working with the government has culminated in a plan which you can take and move with. There's no need to go back to the drawing board and to start from scratch. Just move at pace and scale.
This process, involving up to 300 children, could start within weeks. The number of them who would come here would be very small. Jane McCormack, BBC Newsline.
Now, the official tourism organisation for Derry City and Strabane says there's been a spike in hotel occupancy in the district, peaking at 90% during July. Visit Derry says numbers were boosted in July due to the Open in Portrush and the Foyle Cup. Our Northwest reporter Kieran Turish has more.
Tourism figures for last year reached record levels in the northwest, and the number of visitors have kept coming this year too. Visit Derry, which closely monitors the sector, says the Open Golf Championship and the Foyle Cup were major attractions this summer.
Last year's figures were record figures for us. We now have generated over 82 million to the local economy, generating almost 300,000 overnight visitors. So we're looking to sustain that in 2025. And it's been fantastic that we've been, the month of July has been really strong for us. And we're heading into peak season, August.
It may have broadcast its last series, but it seems the Derry Girls effect continues to generate a lot of interest. These two friends from the Netherlands and Belgium just had to pack their backpacks and pay a visit.
The funny story about how we got to Ireland is that the tickets to Dublin were less expensive than the tickets to Edinburgh. So we decided to come to Ireland first. And I have watched this series Derry Girls. So when we were travelling through the north of Ireland, I really wanted to stop here and visit, just to sort of see.
I didn't know Derry. It was for her because of the series Derry Girls. But I found it fantastic.
And it appears the Derry Girls are big in Japan.
We've been watching Derry Girls in Japan, and we're able to capture the Derry spirit in the other side of the world, you know, so it's wonderful, you know.
I always wanted to come here and learn about a bit of history, you know, because it's like a famous, important place, you know, for history. So, and also I like Derry Girls drama.
There's significant new investment in tourism too, with this former bank being turned into a hotel in the city centre. Other hotels are increasing capacity too in order to meet demand. Many are here to take in the city's historic walls. They're proving popular with visitors from across the world.
I live in London, but originally from Budapest, Hungary. And we chose to come here with my family because we're doing kind of a Northern Irish tour.
So far we love it. I mean, it's just a pit stop and we are aiming at going around the city walls because there's a huge history here, so learning a bit more.
With huge investment in new accommodation, those involved in the tourism sector believe the city will continue to thrive and sustain existing jobs. Kieran Turish, BBC Newsline, Derry.
Still to come on the programme, a planning application for new housing near ancient woodland has led to some disagreements in Ards and North Down. Flights are on hold and the runway is closed at Birmingham Airport after a small aircraft that was flying to Belfast made an emergency landing. It left from Birmingham at around 1:15 this afternoon, but then transmitted a distress signal and returned to the airport. The plane belongs to Woodgate Aviation, a charter firm based at Belfast International Airport. The company says there were no injuries. Now, the Alliance MP Saoirse Eastwood has told the BBC she has no ambition to take over the leadership of her party. While there's currently no vacancy at the top, many had seen the Lagan Valley MP as a potential successor to Naomi Long. She's been speaking to Mark Carruthers for this week's Red Lines podcast.
Saoirse Eastwood's victory in Jeffrey Donaldson's old Westminster seat was one of the big stories of last July's general election. But after a year on the green benches, she admits it's been a steep learning curve, and some of the formalities of the House of Commons have at times left her feeling like she's back at school. And there's another aspect to Westminster life that she's really not keen on.
There's a real, dare I say, a class divide between a lot of people in that building and the people who are coming into the building. And that was a real smack up the face for me, where, you know, it's a huge building, it's a palace, it is the Palace of Westminster. And frankly, there's a lot of people who maybe love that pomp and circumstance and kind of see that more as part of their thing and, you know, the environs in which they should be accustomed to. That's not my vibe at all.
As a high-profile politician, she worries that young women are being put off entering politics and public life because of the abuse they receive on social media. And that, she says, has potentially huge consequences for democracy.
I actually spend an awful lot of time doing work on counter-terrorism, counter-extremism, because I think that's where the biggest challenge we face at the minute is, in terms of how it impacts our young women, how it deselects people from public life, how it interferes with our elections. You know, we've seen lots of evidence of that, certainly in the US and mainland Europe, and how it poisons society through disinformation and then the very volatile manifestations of that.
Naomi Long has led the Alliance Party since 2016, and while she's given no indication she's thinking about standing down, would Saoirse Eastwood consider stepping up? Does she see herself as a future party leader one day?
No. I'll tell you that now. No. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is my first love. This is my...
But I mean, this could be 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years down the line. You could still do this job.
This is my first love. This is my everything. Where you're sitting, to me, is my entire world, and it's the most important thing.
And you can listen to that latest Red Lines conversation with Saoirse Eastwood in full on BBC Sounds or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, a house in a religiously mixed area of Northern Ireland will on average sell for 10% more than an identical house in a more segregated area. That's the major conclusion of a new piece of economic research. Let's speak to our economics and business editor, John Campbell. So who did this research and what did they find, John?
This was a team of economists, some from the University of Birmingham, others from Durham, some other universities. They basically gathered a load of data on Northern Ireland house prices and demographics. That included 4 years' worth of price data from the Property Pal website. They were looking at title deeds. They were looking in the archives. They took all of this data and then they subjected it to some fancy economic mathematics. And from that, they said they were able to isolate what they call a diversity premium. And that is the amount extra which you will pay for a house in what is perceived as being a mixed area versus the exact same sort of house in a more segregated area. And they say that diversity premium comes to 10%, which in cash terms is well over 10 grand.
And why do the researchers think there is this price premium?
It's a pretty obvious bit of economics, which is when you have an area where there is more potential demand for a house, that will tend to force the price up. And if you're in a mixed area where everybody might feel comfortable living there, that will mean higher demand compared to a more segregated area where some people might say, well, I'm not going to live there under any circumstances. So it's a simple matter of demand in the marketplace. Now, this might all seem pretty obvious. I think people probably had an instinct around this. But what we have now is a serious piece of research which actually puts a number on this additional price you will pay in a mixed area.
OK, John, we'll leave it there. Thank you. Now, councillors in North Down and Ards say they're minded to refuse an application to build 5 luxury homes near a long-established woodland in Newtownards. Tullynagardy Wood dates back to the mid-19th century. Planners had recommended the application be approved. Our Agriculture and Environment correspondent Louise Cullen reports.
There have been trees in Tullynagardy on the outskirts of Newtownards for around 200 years, and some are protected. There is housing in the area, and planners had recommended 5 more for approval. But at last night's planning committee meeting, councillors disagreed.
A number of views were expressed during the course of the meeting. There's people who had views around the issues of open space, around the issues of ancient woodland and the impact it was going to have on flora and fauna in the area. But those are issues that we can drill down at. It means that we haven't made a final determination on it, but it gives an indication of a direction of travel.
The construction application came as a surprise to some local residents.
There was nothing on the, nothing in terms of information through the door or even to say something was going to be built. This is quite a lovely area, peaceful, quite pristine in terms of the environment. We have walks down that area.
Ancient and long-established woodlands like this are very rare. They make up just 0.7% of Northern Ireland's natural landscape. And because they've been here for centuries, they're a haven for wildlife. That's why this application has conservationists worried.
We are in the midst of a nature and biodiversity crisis, so it's really important to protect those fragments that we have left. We have a live climate action plan which is driving commitment towards lowering our carbon. Ancient and long established woodland has a really important role of both protecting nature but also helping society adapt to climate change, so it's really important that we protect those areas that we have left.
The developer, WJ Law Bespoke LLP, was unavailable for comment. The committee will reconsider the application at a later date. Louise Cullen, BBC Newsline at Tullynagardy Wood.
Now, a one-woman play called Julie is attempting to help people deal with the loss of a child during the Troubles. 14-year-old Julie Livingstone died after she was hit by a plastic bullet near her home in Lenadoon in 1981. Her story is told by her niece and is part of this year's Féile an Phobal programme. Ita Dungan has this report.
The youngest of 13, Julie Livingstone was 14 when she died, shot with a plastic bullet fired by a soldier. She was walking home from the shops.
Julie had just reached the Stewartstown Road when at about 6:30, 2 army vehicles drove down it from the direction of Lenadoon.
Julie died the next day, but she has never been forgotten. Immortalised in a mural in Lenadoon, now her niece, Charlotte McCurry, has written a play about her. An actress and playwright, Charlotte was born after Julie died, but remembers the stories about her aunt.
We talk about Julie so much. When it came to writing the story, it's like I know all the anecdotes inside out. We talk about her all the time, and it's like I could reel them off because that's how my family have kept her alive.
A one-woman play, it tells the story of Julie's death through the eyes of her sister.
This was my room. Our room, me and your Auntie Julie's. Mummy managed to squeeze 2 single beds in here.
Encouraging families to talk about trauma is central to the play.
One thing I learned from getting close with all the other families was how traumatised they were when they lost the child and how they couldn't talk about it. It was like after the child died, it was just too difficult. I sort of wanted to write this play as well as a way of encouraging them to talk about their loved one more and keep them alive that way.
Julie Livingstone, a 14-year-old who will not be forgotten. Ita Dungan, BBC Newsline.
And you can read more about this story now on our website or by downloading the BBC News app. Now, he's a music superstar, but Ed Sheeran surprised fans by turning up at a gig in a pub in Wexford. He was in the town for the All-Ireland Fleadh, which makes its way to Belfast next year. Our arts correspondent, Robbie Meredith, has more.
He normally packs stadiums, but Ed Sheeran went down just as well with punters in an Irish pub. The superstar was in Wexford for the All-Ireland Fleadh and played in the bar with members of traditional band Bioga.
Whenever Ed enters the vicinity, it all gets really kind of circus-like. It goes to fever pitch, you know. So when the rumour got out yesterday morning, you could feel it sort of in the air. There was extra cops around and, you know, extra excitement and anticipation. People wonder where it might be and when it might be and all that, you know.
The phone footage of the performance quickly went viral, but Ed Sheeran's played with Bioga regularly.
Both sets of grandparents of his are Irish, you know, so very much whenever we're doing things with them and the family are all there, it's very much an Irish centric kind of a thing. So he knows the crack, and he loves that vibe, and he loves that kind of that impromptu sort of session vibe, you know.
3. The All-Ireland Fleadh is like traditional music's Olympics, and it's coming to Belfast next year.
Belfast, unbeknownst to itself, is a really well placed city to have it. You know, there's just such good connections to music and culture and art and all that. And I think it'll really thrive there. And I honestly think that a lot of people, international crowd and all, will get a nice welcome and a pleasant surprise when they come to Belfast.
And maybe a visit from Ed Sheeran too. Robbie Meredith, BBC Newsline.
Yeah, you never know. It's been a dramatic couple of days for motorcyclist Glenn Irwin. Nicola McCarthy is here with tonight's sport. A big change.
Yes, an intense 48 hours, as you say, for Glenn Irwin. He's been reacting for the first time after his surprise switch from PBM Ducati to OMG Racing Yamaha. The 35-year-old parted ways with his former team by mutual consent. That was after a disagreement over his return to racing. Irwin suffered fractures to his hip socket and pelvis as a result of a practice crash at Snetterton in June, requiring surgery. He says that he was given medical clearance to return this weekend, but PBM Ducati disagreed, feeling it was too early. The split then followed, and Irwin will now be competing for his new team at Thruxton. He's been speaking to Stephen Watson.
Probably been one of the toughest moments of my racing career and also in life, because the injury was one thing, and having to deal with what comes next and when we come back type thing. I went and got past orthopaedically fit, and you know, the stage 1 examinations that are required, second and third opinions as well. But the team, for whatever reason, didn't value that. So it's been really hard. I was disappointed in the statement when that's not the reason why this has came to an end.
So what is the reason for the split then?
I can't go into it, you know, too much, but why would you not put a rider who's fighting at the front of the championship back on a bike? You know, don't know, it's an expensive sport. maybe that's to do with it, I don't know.
The team didn't think you were fit to ride, but you do think you're fit to ride. So do you think there's any risk at all, you racing at this next round of the championship?
I don't think there's any think in it. You know, like I say, I've passed these examinations 2 weeks ago, you know, never mind this week. You know, when top, very respected orthopaedic surgeons declare you fit to return to your racing duties, I trust them guys, because these are the people we trust with our life. I know what I've been doing training, and it's been great. It's been very good.
And with a new team, do you have any change of heart about the Northwest 200 looking ahead to next year?
Do you know, I actually went for lunch with Mervyn White yesterday. Yeah, we spoke about a lot of things around Northwest. We spoke about safety improvements, you know, tarmac improvements, yes, but also greater safety improvements, which is something that road racing has been doing great on a whole right now. You know, the TT has also done a good job with that. So very encouraging for all the riders here currently at the Northwest about what they have planned to keep everyone safer going forward. And you know, of course, my reasons to not race there, it was the dangers, you know, and with having a family. But if these guys can make this event even safer, you never know. You never know if they can keep making steps. I couldn't rule it out for next season.
Now, Cliftonville have called on the Irish Football Association to review its process of how suspensions are communicated after Reds captain Kelsey Burrows was cleared of assaulting a match official. On the IFA's website, Burroughs' ban was listed as 16 matches for assault on a match official after Cliftonville Women's Premiership win over Glentoran on the 25th of July. However, she was cleared of the initial charge after Cliftonville's successful obvious error challenge to the County Antrim FA Disciplinary Committee. As a result, the red card still stands and she will serve a shorter 2-match ban. Burroughs has said the stress of being accused of something I knew I didn't do was incredibly emotionally difficult. And finally, Northern Ireland international Jamie Donnelly is on the move this summer. The 20-year-old is joining Stoke City on loan from Tottenham for the season. That's the sport this evening. Tara.
Nicola, thank you. Armagh, a little bit of blue sky today. Barra, a bit cloudy where you were.
Yeah, the cloud gathered up today, I'm afraid. But don't lose heart. We have more sun on the way. This was the scene in and around Strangford today. Our weather watcher sent that in to us. Thank you. Keep them coming. Unfortunately, any blue sky is being replaced quickly this evening by cloud, and overnight there's going to be rain. Some will be heavy, along with some blustery winds as well. The good news is it's going to clear by tomorrow morning. A milder night tonight, 13 or 14 degrees at the lows. So tomorrow morning, a dry start, some early sunshine as well. Now, we can expect a few isolated showers here and there, but I think for many places it will be a dry start in the morning. Some showers drifting eastwards, but they should pass by fairly quickly on that brisk southwesterly wind. And through the afternoon, I think it's going to be more dry than wet, with more sunshine on offer as well. Today, temperatures reached 20 degrees, and we should see temperatures in a few spots similar to that as well. Perhaps just a little bit cooler for parts of the north and the west. Tomorrow evening, a dry end for much of Northern Ireland, some late sunshine as well. And tomorrow night, a drier night with clearer skies. So it won't be quite as mild, but temperatures should stay in the double figures for most of us, perhaps just a touch cooler in some countryside areas. But again, another bright, dry, sunny start to the day on Friday. Like tomorrow, though, we have a wind which is likely to bring in 1 or 2 showers, but fairly hit and miss. In most places, we're expecting to be largely dry through the day on Friday. Maybe any showers, mostly towards parts of the north and west. Where we get the best of the sunshine again, temperatures up to around 20 or maybe even 21 degrees in a few spots. Now, if you have plans for the weekend, it's not looking too bad at all. Early rain on Saturday will clear to give us sunny spells and just 1 or 2 showers. A similar picture too into Sunday. A chance of some rain in the west, but otherwise at the minute it's largely dry. Temperatures reaching the low 20s, and into next week we should still continue to see those temperatures above average for the time of year.
Great, Barra. Thanks very much. That's it for now. Our late news is at 10:30. Bye-bye.